It's time now for Long Shots here on Weather World. This is an occasional segment we have, another one of our forecasting experiments. In this one, we try to make really long-range forecasts, sometimes several months into the future. And the technique that we use is one called analog forecasting, where we try to find patterns that have been occurring and that we look back in the history books, see what happened after similar patterns in the past, and help that be a prediction for what's going to happen in the future. It's an experiment, but analogy is an interesting part of the process of forecasting long range. As with all of our experiments, we like to let you know how we're doing, so let's take a look at what we said way back on July 3rd. And at that time, we said that we thought we saw a pattern that would have a dry autumn. That means that the period September, October, and November would have below average precip. This was actually based upon a pattern of extreme wetness down in Texas that was occurring in the summer and dryness up in the northern Rockies around Montana. And the bullseye on this one, a really good prediction we would think, is if it was one of the 15 driest autumns on record. Well, here's a look at the map of Pennsylvania this autumn, and any place that you see in orange or yellow was below normal. Anything in green above normal. You can see that far more than half the state was below normal, but it was not wildly below normal. We did have a below normal 3-month period in precipitation from September to November, but not one of the 15 driest. So that was a good prediction. It hit the target, not the bullseye, but the target. And that was a reasonably good long shot. And here's another long shot that was made on September 11th. This was based on the very significant late summer heat in the Ohio Valley and interior southeast. And that correlated well with a warm October in Pennsylvania, where the temperature would average at least 1 degree above normal for the statewide average. We would consider it a bullseye if it turned out to be one of the 15 warmest Octobers since 1895. Well, here's a look at a graph of October temperatures in Pennsylvania going back to 1895 up to the present time, and right up there is the dot associated with this year, and indeed it was the warmest October on record in Pennsylvania. How do you like that, folks? So that arrow comes and bang, it has hit the bullseye, which is tremendous. Whenever we can get a bullseye on a long shot, we feel good about ourselves. So how are we doing so far? Well, we have a new season of long shots just barely underway, and we have hit the bullseye once, as you just saw today. We've had a couple of targets and one fell in the neighbor's yard. So that's a reasonably good start for this edition of long shots here. Now, we have a long shot pending. That means we have made a long shot forecast that we can't yet verify. Let's take a look at that one. This one was made on October 30th. The target for this one would be that we had a statewide average temperature in February and March. When you average those 2 months together below normal, we think we see a connection to that. And the bullseye would be if we have a prolonged period of 2 consecutive weeks of below average temperatures sometime during that February-March period. We can't give you the answer to that one, of course, because we haven't quite gotten to that one yet. Okay, now what about this time around for long shots? Let's take a look. We think, you may have seen in the news that we're having a La Nina pattern, which is cold water in the Pacific Ocean. And we went back and looked at all the La Nina years since 1950. There are various lists of these, but we settled on these 12 years that you see up here. And we think we have found a connection between this cold pattern of ocean water in the Pacific and eastern Pennsylvania temperatures. We think this connection holds because when there's cold water in the Pacific, there's usually a lack of strong storms that come out of the Gulf of Mexico and up the East Coast, which is how eastern Pennsylvania gets most of its snow in the middle of the winter. So we took those midwinter months, January and February, in these 12 years. That means a total of 24 months when you have both January and February together. And below normal snowfall happened in 6 of those months. That's much below normal, which means really very little snow. Below normal snowfall in 7 of those months, around normal snowfall in 4 of those months, above normal in 5 of those months, and much above normal snow in 2 of those months. So when you add it up, it's 13 below and 7 above, 4 around normal. That's almost twice as many months of below normal snowfall during La Nina years in January, February. So we're going to say it's going to be a below normal or less than normal snowfall in eastern Pennsylvania, average of State College, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, and Williamsport. The bullseye is below normal for each of those 4 locations in both of those months. So it would be running the table of all of those places below normal, and that will be our long shot for this time around. And if you're interested in the winter weather ahead, of course, there is that call-in show tonight on PCN at 7 o'clock. Both Paul Knight and I will be there and clue you in a little bit more on what we think the winter will be like and answer any of your weather questions. That's Long Shots for tonight. We'll be back in a moment with more.